This video has been made possible by our amazing sponsor, Squarespace, the simple and easy way to create a beautiful and professional website. Check it out, and for a free trial and even 10% off, use the discount code found in this video. Remember, a better web starts with your website. Hey everybody, welcome to this video tutorial brought to you by Tutvid.com. where today we're going to take a look at creating this hipster style logo using different typefaces and masking and some different things like that. It's going to be a bunch of fun. It's going to look really cool, and it's a pretty versatile little piece of artwork. Really, you can do it with anything. We're going to sort of remake the Philadelphia Eagles, the NFL football team here in town, remake their logo a little bit, make it more like an American Eagle t-shirt or something like that. So what I have here is a brand new Photoshop document. It's 1920 by 1080. You can create a new document, and I grabbed a texture from over here on lostandtaken.com. Lots of great free high resolution, very natural kinds of textures, stone, granites, rust, things like that. Really, really great stuff. Highly recommend checking them out. So it's pretty easy how this all begins. We're just going to begin by writing the word Philadelphia. So grab your type tool and let's just type the word Philadelphia. And it's super tiny there, 7 point. We're going to make it a little larger. We're going to do that by going Window Character to bring up the character panel. I already know what size I want this type to be, so I'm just going to input that now. I want it to be 192.5, and you can see it makes it quite a bit larger. I'm going to grab my Move tool here and just move the word Philadelphia back to the middle of my document here. All right, a couple things we need to change. Well, first off, we need to get a good font. When it comes to this kind of like hipster, old worldy styled graphics, the fonts that you choose, the typefaces and the styles you place upon them and the colors are very, very, very important. Otherwise, you completely miss the boat and you'll wonder why it's not looking right. It's because the font or the graphic involved is not, it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Let's make sure we get that right. Now, there are a bunch of different kinds of fonts out there you can use. We're going to use one here from losttype.com called Blanche. You can download it. Personal uses, pay what you want. You can pay whatever you want here and download it. And they just suggest $25 for the commercial license for 1 to 5 users, etc., etc., etc. But throw some money at these guys. It's a great font. It comes in 6 weights. Very, very useful stuff. So that's what we're going to use. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to have the link for all this stuff that we're going to be talking about on tutvid.com in the tutorial, the written part of this tutorial. You can get all the links to this stuff, so jump over there to check it out if you're interested in following along. All right, now I'm going to just type in Blanche right up here, and I'm going to get my typeface. You can see it's very, very thin. It's almost difficult to see. So the first thing we're going to do is check out the weights here in this drop-down menu, and I'm going to choose caps. That's going to bulk us up a bit right off the bat, which is great. That's still not enough for me, though. I also want to tick on Faux Bold. It's the little T here in the bottom left. There we go. That's going to chunk us up a bit more. And then we're going to change the kerning here, or the tracking as Photoshop is going to call it. We're going to set it to 25 just to kind of space our letters out. We're probably going to make these letters a bit bolder in a little bit, but for now, let's just roll with this. The last thing that I want to change is the color. I want this to be white, not black. You really can design any color you want, but in the case of this logo, I'm going to roll with white for now because I feel like it meshes with the background a little bit better. So I'm going to select my color, and I'm going to go up to white, hit OK, and there we have our typeset. Now, before we do anything else, what I want to do is go ahead and just duplicate this text layer to save a copy. We're going to do that by hitting Command or Control J. I'm going to shut that layer off by clicking the little eyeball, and I'm just going to drag it beneath the original text layer. So select the original text layer. That's what we want to work with. We're just saving the original type layer so we have all this stuff saved in case we come back and we need it later, because eventually we're going to either rasterize this or we're going to convert it to a smart object, or something is going to happen, just thinking ahead down the road. So what I want to do here is go Edit, Free Transform, and I want to skew this, and you could right click and click skew, but I want to do it precisely. So I'm going to look to the control bar and I have my horizontal, the H, and the vertical, the V, the vertical skew, horizontal skew, vertical skew. I want to go vertical skew, and I want to set that to -11. That's exactly what I want, a nice sort of angular effect to our text. Very cool. The next step is going to be making this much larger so we can apply a filter to this to sort of distort the text. I want to take the edges of the type, which are so perfect and so smooth right now, and I want to make them a little wavy, add a little element of handcraftedness, you know, old worldness to this logo. So we're going to do that by hitting Command or Control T, which, by the way, that's the hotkey for free transform, Control T on the PC, Command T on the Mac. And we're going to make this 2.5 times larger by, again, looking up here to the control bar and setting the width to 250% and the height to 250% as well. All right, I'm going to hit the check icon to commit the change. Move the text to the center of the document. Cool. All right, now that I've done this, I can't just go and apply a distort filter. It's going to say I can, but basically Photoshop is going to say, hey, we need to rasterize the type. I don't really want to do that. So here's what I'm going to do. Now you can, and in the written tutorial, maybe I'll do it the rasterized type way just to show you. But what I want to do here is just right click on the name of my layer, and I'm going to choose Convert to Smart Object. That's going to take that text and it's going to save it within the smart object, so I can always make it larger or smaller, but I can apply a filter to a smart object. So now that we have a smart object, we can go Filter, Distort, Zigzag. And here in Zigzag, we want to set the style to out from center. Basically, it's going to concentrate the majority of the zigzagginess in the center of the document and ripple it outward as though we're throwing a rock into a pond or something. And I know there is one here called Pond Ripples, but we don't want that. We want out from center. And we're going to choose amount, I don't know, somewhere around 10, 12, 13, let's say. And then ridges, let's go with like 8 or 9. Maybe we'll go 8. A little less is probably better than a little more. So we got 13 and 8 is what I'm going with here. I'm going to hit OK. Now the beautiful thing about this is if I decide that that's way too much, I can double click on Zigzag and adjust it because it's a smart filter on a smart object. Well, smart filters can only go onto smart objects, at least here in Photoshop CS6. So we have our distortion applied, but now our text obviously is far too large. And by the way, look, see how much more wavy and funkified the text is here in the middle as opposed to the text on the edges. It's hardly affected. I really like that. It makes it look, you know, this A is going to look different than this A. So it's just like, hey, wow, it's like they did all this by hand, but really we didn't. So we need to just size this back down. We're going to again hit Command or Control T to bring up free transform. And you can see here Photoshop's going to say, hey, smart filters are applied to this layer. They're going to be shut off temporarily while we transform. Fine. All right. I'm going to look here to the control bar and I'm going to set the width to 40% and the height to 40% as well. Hit the little check icon to commit the change. Great. Now I can just drag this and try to kind of position it as close to the center as possible again. And there we go. We have that. Now when I'm looking at the text, it looks like it's not quite bold enough, so I'm going to add a little bit more to it. I'm going to go Layer Style Stroke, and I'm just going to add a nice little white stroke to it. You can see the default is black. I'm just checking out the type here. Let's set the size to maybe 4 pixels. If that looks a little too big, we'll revert back to 2 or 3. Outside normal, 100% opacity is totally fine here. We're going to select our color and we're going to set it to white. Hit OK. That does look maybe a little bit too big, so let's go down 1, 2, maybe something like that. We'll go down to 2 pixels. You can see there's before, there's after. Yeah, we're definitely chunking it up. Now, before we hit the OK button, we need to go up here to Blending Options Default. And what we need to do is just check on Layer Mask Hides Effects. The reason we need to do this is basically this is going to tell Photoshop, hey, if we start texturizing and blending this layer with a layer mask, which is what we're going to do, we want you to treat this stroke as though it's just pixels on the layer and not as though it's this smart style. And why we want that, it's a little complex to explain, but just follow me here. We just want to tick on Layer Mask Hides Effects. So I'll go ahead and hit OK. And I'm just going to collapse that again. I don't want to keep seeing that. Alright, so cool. Now that we've done that, we're ready to texturize this type. So here's how I texturize the type for this particular application here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Layer, Layer Mask, Reveal All. The easy way to do this, by the way, let's do it the easy way. You make sure you have your layer selected. At the bottom of the Layers panel, there's a new Layer Mask icon. Boom. And we add a layer mask that easily. Now that we've done that, we want to go grab our brush tool right over here. Brush tool. Okay, so once you have your brush tool selected, we're going to right click and we need to load in these splatter brushes. In fact, we're going to load these animal brushes back in later. But here's what we're going to do. Right click anywhere on your document and look for this little cog wheel, or if you're using an older version of Photoshop, it might be a little arrow, this little flyout menu, and you're going to choose Replace Brushes. Replace Brushes is basically going to knock all these brushes out of here, just push them aside temporarily, and only display our new brushes. So we're going to choose Replace Brushes, and I'm going to choose this brush pack here, T9 Dirty Sprays. I don't remember where I got this brush pack from, but there's this great site, brusheasy.com, you can check out. They've got lots of great free brushes. We're going to be using this animal brush set later. I do just want to point out, you probably want to look for something that's more of a spray brush for grunging rather than your traditional grunge brush, which tends to look more like this grunge watercolor. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a little bizarre. So that's typically what you want to look for, excuse me, when you're looking for your grunge brushes for this type of thing. We want something that's going to punch clean, sharp holes in our type, and that's exactly what this brush is going to do. So I'm just going to work with this brush to start. I'm going to size it down to maybe like 600 or whatever, 1,000. No, we'll go 500 here. And I'm just going to start clicking around the edges. In fact, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Click once. I'm painting with the color black. You can see my foreground color is black. That's going to tell my mask, all right, hide stuff. Great. Very nice. All right, let's right click, and I'm going to choose another brush. This one's going to be slightly larger. And let's add some texturization to there and really mess up the H. All right, cool. So just like that, we have texturized our type. If I shift click the mask, you're going to see there's before and there's after. I mean, it makes a huge, huge difference. Great, so now that we've done that, we're ready to go ahead and add the little bird logo. It is, after all, the Philadelphia Eagles, so we should probably have some sort of bird representing the team. So what I'm going to do is first and foremost create a new layer by hitting this new layer icon, and we're going to name this layer bird, and I'm going to grab my brush tool again. So right over there, brush tool, right click, and we need to load another brush pack. Here is where you're going to go and download the Animal Brush Set 2 from brusheasy.com. Again, links for this can be found in the written tutorial over on tutvid.com. So let's go back to Photoshop. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose from my little flyout menu here, a little cogwheel. I'm going to choose this time load brushes. The reason I'm choosing load brushes this time instead of replace brushes is I want my spray brushes to remain because I'm going to use them to texturize the little bird that I paint, to texturize the additional type that I'm going to type. So I want to load brushes here, and I'm going to choose Animal Brush Set 2. There we go. Cool. And there's this little griffin eagle bird right here that I like. We're going to set the size to maybe 175 pixels. That should look good. I'm painting with the color white. I'm on my bird layer, and I'm just going to click once, right about there. Great. So now we need to texturize this little bird. So we're going to add a layer mask, right? We're going to right click and go back to our texture brushes. I'm going to size it down quite a bit for this texture brush. I'm going to click once, I'm going to click twice, click 3 times. I'm going to grab another texturizing brush here. I'm going to make it a bit smaller. Maybe I'll click once, twice. Whoop, that's a little bit too much. We're taking too much of his beak off. I still definitely want it to be identifiable as a bird. There we go, cool. So we've gone ahead and we've grunged up our bird. We've kind of made him look spotty and a little messed up. And the last big bit of type we need to add is adding the word Eagles beneath the word Philadelphia. So let's grab our type tool and type the word Eagles. There we go. Control Enter or Command Return on the Mac to commit the change. I'm going to grab my Move tool and I'm going to move it to right about the middle. All right, now we definitely need to change this typeface. Again, remember, success with this kind of thing is in the typefaces and the elements and ornamentation stuff that you decide to use. And type is a huge part of that for any of this kind of old worldy kind of hipster design. So again, another free font. Again, you can download it on tutvid.com within the written part of this tutorial. Dancing Script OT. I'm going to have the link for it, fontsquirrel.com. It's a free download. It's an amazing typeface. Highly recommend it for all kinds of stuff, not just this tutorial. So now that I know that we're using that, we're going to go back to our character panel, window character, and we're just going to start typing Dancing Script. There we go, cool. All right, so a couple things we need to change. First and foremost, I want to set the tracking not to positive 25, but to negative 25. I want to push it tighter together so it really looks like a good cursive or script font. I'm going to shut off faux bold. You know what? I'm going to keep faux bold on. I kind of like the faux bold. We do want to size it down, however. We're going to set it to maybe 140 point. There we go, cool. All right, now I'm going to drop that right in beneath the word Philadelphia, just like so. And now we need to texturize this type as well. So I'm going to add a layer mask. I'm going to go back to my trusty brush tool. I have this brush already selected. I'm going to actually make these brushes really small for texturizing this type. And with type, I like to kind of hang out around the edges, right? So I'm going to go like click there, I'll like click there, I'll go there, come right up here at the base of the G. All right, cool. I'm going to grab another brush here. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to make it small. Click up there, click there, like cut off the top of the L. That's actually kind of neat. Very nice. Cool. All right, and then let's grab this brush. I'm actually going to leave this brush kind of large, maybe right around 1200 or so, just because I want to get some good, bigger, chunky splatters here. There we go, something like so. Let's actually just grab our Move tool. All right, so we've texturized the word Eagles as well. Now, before we continue, I just want to remind you guys that this tutorial is brought to us by Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/tutvid and use the code TUTVID, that's Tutvid, for a 10% discount. Now, if you've never used Squarespace and you have a website, you got to check it out. Really, 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 you got to check it out. It's like $8 a month. It's incredibly easy to set up. I got a bunch of friends who have switched to it. Even my younger sister, who has a cooking blog, she transferred her blog from a different blogging platform over to Squarespace. She had over 450 blog posts. They all transferred right over in less than 5 minutes. I was there when it happened, and she had her entire site up and running in right around an hour. It was insane. It was great, though. So check it out, squarespace.com/Tutvid, and of course, they're sponsoring all this stuff as well, so you gotta love them. So, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and just add sort of this small ornamental type to this logo as well. Adding these little elements of ornamental text, you can see born 1933, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then a little ribbon. This stuff is actually pretty easy, but it can be a little time consuming as well. So let's just jump right into it. Let's grab the type tool. We're going to start by just clicking once, and I'm going to type in all caps EST period. Instead of saying born, let's say established, right? EST established. Control Enter, Command Return to commit the change. All right, now the first thing we need to do is make this type a little smaller. Actually, you know, before we do that, let's switch the typeface again. Let's grab this type here, Essays 1743. Again, free font, dafont.com. You can grab it in the written part of this tutorial over on tutvid.com. Great little font. You can see how like handcrafted it looks, right? Like how abnormal and non-uniform all the edges of the text are. It almost looks like somebody took a fountain pen and just quickly scrawled out whatever is being written. So that's great. That's really what we want. So again, we're going to go to our character panel here. We're going to look for Essays 1743. There we go. Cool. What we're going to do here, we're going to actually get rid of the faux bold because there is a bold version of this that you're going to download. Let's use the real bold instead of the faux bold because why not? I'm going to leave the tracking set to -25. I kind of like that. I'm going to set the size, however, to something like, I don't know, 26 points. That's better. So let's drag that right in and put it near the back end of the bird. And I'm going to holding down my Alt or Option key, and I'm just dragging it right over, and it's going to duplicate the text layer. I'm going to double-click on the T for that text layer in my Layers panel. I'm going to type 1933, which is when the Eagles were founded. Now I'm going to grab 1933, I'm going to drag it right down here, and I'm going to double-click, and I'm going to say Phila, period, so as to say Philadelphia, and then I'm going to drag it straight across here. Again, I'm holding down my Alt and Shift key, just to Alt to copy, Shift to keep it in that straight line. Double-click on the T, and I'm going to say Penn, period, for Pennsylvania. All right, so now that we've done that, we can go ahead and texturize each of these little bits. This is really easy to do. We just throw a layer mask on each layer, grab the brush tool, this is the letter B, and let's size this way down. We're painting with the color black. Boom, there we go. We texturize, well, hold on. There we go. We texturize the word pen. We're going to go Phila here. Bam. Very nice. Let's actually grab another brush for this. One isn't working as well as I thought. There we go. Cool. Something like so. 1933. Throw a mask on it. Click. Whoop. Looks like 1983. Let's try that again. Try that again. With smaller bits of text, you just want to be careful where the little texturization holes and things fall. All right, we're going to go to EST. Throw a layer mask on it. Click. 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 Cool. All right, so that easily we go ahead and texturize all that stuff. Now, let's just sort of position all of this correctly before we go ahead and create the ribbon. The ribbon's going to take just a couple minutes to create. So we're going to select Philadelphia, the Philadelphia layer first, and we're going to go select all. That's going to load a selection around our entire document. And we have the Move tool selected. When you have the Move tool selected and you have an element selected and you create a selection like this, you're going to see some alignment options here. So we're going to align to the horizontal, the vertical centers, excuse me, and we're also going to align to the horizontal centers. There, I think little tooltips will help you out. And now we want to align the bird and the word Eagles to the vertical centers, so just the horizontal centers, so just side to side. So we're going to select the bird layer. We're going to go align to the horizontal center, and then Eagles as well, align to that. Or I'm sorry, that's the vertical center, isn't it? No, horizontal center. I was right. I keep mixing them up. All right, so now that we've done that, we at least know that the word Philadelphia, the bird, and the word Eagles, they are aligned in accordance with the center of our document. I'm going to hit Command or Control D to deselect. What I need to do now is move the word Eagles closer to the word Philadelphia. See how much closer the bird is? So I've got the Eagles layer selected. I've got my Move tool. I'm just holding on my Shift key, and I'm just going to nudge it upward a little bit. Cool. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to grab EST. I'm going to move it in a little tighter so it matches sort of 1933 on the other side. I'm just using my arrow keys, just nudging it around until it looks about right. Now I'm going to grab Philadelphia and Penn. I'm going to lift them both up just a little bit. Move them side to side just a touch. There we go. I'm going to actually bump each one outward. I'm holding Shift and just using left or right arrow keys to nudge a bigger portion of pixels at a time. I believe it's 10 pixels it'll go when you hold down the Shift key. So there we go. We've sort of changed the positioning of our logo. That's great. Now we're ready to go ahead and create the little ribbon. Now this is going to be fun. So let's just zoom in here and grab the pen tool. Now if you're not familiar with the pen tool or how to use it, just try to hang with us here. I'm going to try to explain each time I click the mouse, what button I'm holding down, and what exactly I'm doing. So this is going to take a little bit longer than normal to draw this one little stinking ribbon, but it's really not too difficult. So basically, I'm drawing a shape layer. You can do this in virtually any version of Photoshop that has the pen tool. So we're going to go shape layer. I'm setting the fill here to white. This is something newer to newer versions of Photoshop. If you don't have this option, just make sure your foreground color is set to white. That's cool. I'm just going to undo there because it's changing things over there with the text layer. Alright, so now that we have the pen tool, we don't need to create a new layer, we're creating a shape layer. So I'm going to click once right out here. I'm going to make the ribbon about as wide as the word eagles. So that's kind of like my little marker, if you will. So I'm going to click once, then I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to click again. Now I'm going to hold down my alt or option key, and I'm going to select that anchor point that I just placed and pull a handle straight to the right. I'm going to pull that handle to right about there, and then I'm going to go down a little bit lower, but this time remember we're lining this side of the ribbon up with this side of the word eagles. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag just like that. Cool. Now I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and I'm just going to click that anchor point that I just created. What that's going to do is it's going to pull that tangent handle right back in, so when I hold my Shift key and just click straight up on this side to create the other side of my ribbon, we get a nice straight line. So I just held down Shift and clicked. Now I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key. I'm going to drag a tangent handle straight back to the left. And I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key as I join these two, as I join the path. So I close the path here. So I'm going to click and I'm going to pull another tangent handle straight toward the right to sort of finish my little ribbon here. Great. So we could take our direct selection tool and really perfect the ribbon. I'm not going to take the time to do that in this case, but I kind of like the fact that it looks like it's a little, it's not perfect. It's, you know, again, it's handcrafted, hand cut, hand everythinged. Alright, so now that we've done that, we're ready to go ahead and create the little tails that go onto the ribbon. So grab the pen tool again, and we're going to click, it's just a couple anchor points we need to place. We're going to go one, I'm holding down my Shift key, placing a second, placing a third, placing a fourth, and then I'm going to do a nice deep groove here for every ribbon has the little cutout on the end, right? So now that I've done that, I can move this into place just like that, and we just basically need another version of this little graphic that we created. So hit Command or Control J, see we duplicated it, and just drag this right over to the other side. Hit Command or Control T, which is going to free transform. Right click within the transform handles and choose Flip Horizontal, and then hit Enter, return to commit the change, and voila, we have ourselves a nice little ribbon. Now, part of the problem here is this white ribbon is actually in front of our two back ribbons, so let's just drag that up. The only reason I'm saying that is because we might want to do something like, with these back two ribbon tails, we might want to maybe set the opacity to like 90 or 85 or something, just so there's a tiny bit of interaction with whatever's in the background. It's just going to sort of set the tails of the ribbon off of the front of the ribbon just a tiny little bit. Subtle, but you notice it. So now that I've done that, I'm going to select all three pieces of ribbon by selecting the top shape layer, holding down my Shift key, and selecting the bottom shape layer, and hitting Command or Control G to group them. I'm going to name this group Ribbon. And what I'm going to do now is apply a mask. Actually, we'll texturize this ribbon last, just to keep things from getting confusing, because what we want to do is we want to add the words bleed green to this ribbon, and we're going to do that by just punching a hole through the ribbon that says bleed green. So we're going to create a new type layer with our text tool, and we're going to type the words bleed green. I'm doing it in all caps. And now that we have that, I actually like that it's black so I can see it over my ribbon. I'm just going to position it on top of the ribbon like so, and I'm going to grab my type tool again. The reason I'm doing that is because when you have a text layer selected and you have your type tool, you can warp text. See this little T with a little curve underneath it up in the control bar for the text tool? Go ahead and click that, and we're going to choose from the style flag. And you can see what it's doing to our text. It's making it sort of wave like a flag a little bit, but that's sort of waving the wrong direction, right? Because our ribbon is going down and away. So we want to just change the bend from a positive to a negative. So let's do something like negative 25 maybe. That looks about right. We're going to tilt the text in just a second, so go ahead and hit OK. And let's go Edit, Free Transform, and just rotate the text a little bit like so. Very cool. Maybe what we could also do is go to our character panel and increase the tracking. Instead of negative 25, we can go like positive 25. That might be cool. Really stretch it out a little bit. That looks neat. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can just load this layer as a selection by Command or Control clicking the layer thumbnail. It's just the T with the little curve underneath it. There we go. You can see it loads it as a selection, and then shut that layer off. So what we want to do is we want to take the selection and punch a hole right through our ribbon. So we're going to go to the ribbon group and we're going to use a mask. So we're going to hold down our Alt or Option key, which is basically going to say, hey, mask, whatever's selected, hide that part. So we're holding the Alt or Option key and we're going to click the Create New Mask icon in the bottom of the layer panel right there. So you can see it just punches that hole through the ribbon. Now, of course, the one thing missing from the ribbon now is this grungy texturization that the rest of our document has. So, of course, let's do that real quick, and then we'll size the ribbon down, and we'll be set. We're going to grab our brush tool, and here we go. We've got our grunge brushes already set. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger here. Make sure you're painting with the color black. See how our foreground color is white? We want to set it to black, and then click, click. Now we're going to make this much, much smaller. What I want to do is I want to kind of like round off every corner of the ribbon. I don't know, it just adds kind of a neat little effect. Maybe not the points on the edges of the outer part of the ribbon there, but right click, let's grab a different brush. Cool. There we go, very nice. Make this a little bit smaller. Bam. Get the top of that ribbon taken care of there. Grunge up the inside there. I want to make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to hit the inner part of the ribbon there. Very nice. Okay, cool. So we've grunged up the ribbon itself. Now all that's left to do is just make the ribbon smaller so it fits in properly. So we've got the layer group selected, and let's just go edit, free transform. We're going to transform the entire layer group. The reason it looks so big is because our mask extends out that far, but don't worry. Hold down your Shift and Alt keys. That would be Shift and Option on the Mac. We're just going to make this about that sized. And we're going to take it and we're going to rotate it as well. So if you move your mouse outside of the tangent or the transform handles, you can just grab it and rotate it as well. So just like so, we'll line it right up. And there we go. So now that we've done that, let's just group all these layers together so we can colorize this. So we're going to select the bleed green layer, and we'll hold down Shift and select the Philadelphia text layer and hit Command or Control G. I'm going to name this layer group Logo. And I'm going to duplicate this layer group by dragging the layer group and dropping it on the new layer icon. All right, I'm going to shut the original logo layer, like the layer group, off. So we just have one layer group turned on, right click, and go merge group. So now we have our logo on one single layer. Great. So what we can do is just move it up so it's more into the middle of the document, and let's just colorize it by hitting Command or Control U, which is going to bring up Hue Saturation, tick on Colorize, and I need to make it a little darker, obviously, because we're working with white here. Crank up the saturation, and you can see we've got a bright red logo. Doesn't look any good in this case because it doesn't really mesh well with the green. So let's maybe make it more like orange and a little bit brighter. So something like that. That looks pretty cool. Go ahead and hit, well, let me make it a little brighter maybe. Go ahead and hit OK. And you can see there was the white, there's kind of the yellow. I think I went with kind of a greenish yellow there on the original. So yeah, there you have it. Just like that, we have gone ahead and used masks and typefaces and brushes and all kinds of stuff to create a neat little texturized hipster style logo. So that is it for this one. I hope you guys picked up a couple little tips and tricks along the way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and hanging in for the whole tutorial. Head over to tutvid.com where you can find more free video tutorials. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, this video was generously sponsored by our great friends over at squarespace.com, the simple and easy way to build a beautiful website, a responsive website, a mobile-friendly website. In fact, if you get over to squarespace.com right now and use the discount code TUTVID, you will get 10% off your first purchase, and if you sign up for a full year, you're gonna get a free domain name, and it's like $8 a month. So I strongly urge you to get over there and check it out. They've got great 24/7 live chat available with offices in New York City and Dublin, Ireland. You can do all kinds of things with your Squarespace account, e-commerce sites, do artist portfolios. Check out some of these sites as they've been scrolling by here on the screen. There's no credit card required. You can go over there, again, discount code TUTVID, and you can start building a website today. Highly recommend it, and thank you so much, Squarespace, for supporting TUTVID. You guys rock.